What up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 54 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great, continue to be amazing. We got a really awesome show lined up for you today, but if you guys caught episode 53, you saw we had none other than my man DJ Reflection. And let me tell you, when he was telling that story about winning that DJ battle over at the Beat Junkies Institute, that was incredible because, like he said, that's a really big situation right there, man. That's a big deal to come from Arizona and go out there and battle LA DJs at the Beat Junkies Institute in front of all of them and take that W. Man, that's incredible, man. Don't get no better than that. So shout out to my brother DJ Reflection, and make sure you guys watch episode 53. All right. But today's guest has been a hip-hop staple in the Arizona scene for so many years now. We're going to talk about the early days of his hip-hop journey, along with some amazing shows that he's done. We're also going to talk about the Arizona classic Gift of Gab album, and much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Blury Eye.
Yo, what's good? This is Blury Eye, AKA I Was Blurry. And all I'm saying is just give me 5. Music kind of ran in my household.
Okay.
My mom was a B-girl. She was a pop locker with a crew called Zodiac Lockers. This was back in '79. Yeah. My uncles were break dancers as well. And this was back when I used to live in El Mirage in the very beginning. And it was always in the house. I remember Breaking came out and B Street came out. Yeah, and everybody in the house was excited. We wore the clothes like it, you know, and then I got in a talent show one time as a little kid. It was probably kindergarten, and there was all break dancers there, and I came out with a Michael Jackson leather jacket with the zippers on and did my thing. And then I took it off and I started break dancing from what I seen with them do. And ever since then, I had the bug. But the real, actual reason I picked up the pen is because my cousin Boog, who was in a group called the Weirdos. Yeah. And now this is even, way back, I'm gonna say maybe 90, 92. And he was doing shows with DJ Quick, with, everybody who came out here, Second to None, all the big shows they were doing with TMC. And one time I seen him freestyle in front of me, and I was hooked. I had to go home and I had to write something. I had to do the same thing. And I remember going back home and writing a rhyme. This is, like I said, this is 92. Yeah. And I was writing a rhyme in my room while my cousins were playing video games. And I wrote a song and I tried to memorize it. And the next day I told my friends. And once I saw the reaction, I was done. I knew this is what I'm doing forever. I mean, there was nothing stopping that feeling. Once I performed for the first time, it was the same thing too. I performed at the Hyatt Regency. That was my first show ever, and it was a big talent show, and I got the bug. I was done. The live shows started really picking up around, I would say maybe a couple of years after I started writing. I would say maybe 96. Nice. I started doing shows for a guy, it was a Battle of the Rappers show for a guy named Tim Reed. Okay. And he would throw Battle of the Rappers car shows. He'd bring down all different kind of people. And I mean, literally it was maybe 20 rap acts all performing. And back then, this is when you had to bring a crowd. Well, still it's like that, but this is when you had to bring a crowd, and it would be the crowd type of deal who would decide who the winner was. So on mine, I didn't know that at first. I just thought it was pure talent. So you go up there trying to say your rhyme and you wondering why you didn't win. Right. So that happened a few times. But once I sat with Tim and he told me, this is what you have to do. So the next time we brought a crowd, and from that point on, we brought crowds and we just started winning them. It started with third place, and then, first place, and then first place. And then they say you can't do it no more. Right. You know what I mean? And it was time to move on. It was time to move on. So then I started doing, I met a dude named Arlo who hooked me up with a lady named Adi with Attitude Promotions. And man, it took off. she taught me the grind part, the everything don't happen overnight, because to me that's what I thought it did. She taught me the grind part, but she was giving me shows at a place called Mason Jar, and I mean, like, I was doing like one every week, and it just started taking off from there. Then Arlo introduced me to Tyree Carter, so then I started doing shows for TMC, and this is when I'm gonna say Lyricist Lounge was big.
Okay.
So Wu-Tang, of course, was big. Wu-Tang was like one of the biggest things ever. Like, as growing up, I even named the crew that I was rolling with. We called ourselves Wu-Tang, but it was before they blew up. You know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway, they blew up, and then I started. So my highlight of any performance I ever did was opening up for Wu-Tang, and I didn't only do it once, I did it twice.
Nice.
And
Kind of manifested that. Huh?
man, loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was at Pompeii. It was amazing, you know, and you know, I got to actually do like one, you know, with just Raekwon and Ghostface as well. I got to do shows. I opened up for the Roots. I got to open up for Common, Gangstarr, Kass, the Lyricist Lounge itself, Black Eyed Peas. It was just, you know, it just kept going. It was like et cetera, et cetera. I've been on stage with Cypress Hill. It was just great moments. You know what I mean? Like, just great moments. And then, you know, that is all entitled into, a lot of them shows even came from like the battles at the radio station. So I would go to the radio station, they would call us and stuff and say, you know, they wanted like the hot MCs on the street to come in, and you would battle on the radio station. Well, so if you won 6 times in a row, you would be called a champion, and they move you out, they move another person in, and they would start over. So what happens is, after a while, you don't have no champions, or the champions you have, you want them to kind of face each other. So I won all my 6 rounds 6 times. I did it with Little Sean, I did it with J times 3, I did it when they had Cedric Ceballos subbing in. I did it then, and I mean, it was amazing. Like, I mean, great times came from it. 6 times in a row, 6 times, that many times, you know what I mean? You go to a radio station every day and just spit your verses, and people would call in. And I faced a lot of MCs, so you can imagine how many MCs that is. Right. Some of the local favorites, some of the local legends. Yeah, you know what I mean? You just bully through and get to your way, you know what I mean? And that's what I did. Hey, I'm gonna tell you something dope, brother. So we go to the concert and we open up, and Gangstarr is doing his thing, and we have a tape. This was back when we had demo tapes, and I hand it to him. I hand it to him, to his face. I say, hey, this is my demo, and I hand it to him. It's me and my boy Ron, and we had a group called Prisoners of War. There was a Poets of War, and we were a group called Prisoners of War. So we were just called like POW. Anyway, so we ran it to him. I gave it to him, and he goes, I'm gonna put it right here. He had a jean jacket on, and he put it in his shirt. And I remember he was performing, and he saw me on the side. And he said like this, and I was like, dude, me and my boy were like, let's go, we ready, let's go, we good, let's get out.
That's fire.
It was fire, brother, fire. Okay, so for Gifted Gab, my boys started taking trips to New York.
Yeah.
We were taking trips to Cali.
Okay.
We didn't have nothing solid to actually give an A&R if he did give us his time. I mean, like, remember when Guitar Center used to have music industry books? They were like this thick, they cost about $150. Yep. We saved for that $150. We got that book. And we were skimming through it, and we would go to LA and tell the record labels, we would say, hey, is Alex there? Tell him I'm down here.
Right.
And he didn't know who we were. Like, most of the time they would laugh. They would just laugh. But one time, the guy comes down and he says, who are you? And I'm like, my name's Blury. And he's like, all right, well, you know what I mean? So why are you here? I mean, do I know you? And I'm like, no, you don't know us, but I'm that determined. You know what I mean? Like, I'm right here right now. I want to hand you my music. Right. So we hand him the music, and we take off. This was at Arista.
Oh, nice.
We hand them the tape, the CD, and we take off. We're over here having lunch. Next thing you know, the phone rings. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm listening to this. You know what I mean? He's listening to Gift the Gab. Nice. He's like, I'm listening to it. You know what I mean? And he's like, you know, I think there's a spot for you in the industry. It's just not Arista. They had just, when I went in, but he still invited me up. I go up there. They have the plaque for TLC in the office. You know what I mean? And that's what he was explaining to me, like the concepts of how music does, because, you know, my stuff was street underground.
Right.
And they were looking for the next big pop R&B artist. So, you know, it just showed me, you know, you just don't shop your CD to every label, because some labels aren't selling the music that you're pushing. You know what I mean? So anyway, we dropped Gift the Gab. I hit up Sammy from Planet X. Yeah, man. My team, which was Scumworks, met with Planet X. We said, let's put an album together. He gave me a disc of beats. I took it home. I wrote some songs. I came back and I said, let's record. And Sammy's was always like a more precision kind of guy. Gotcha. He said, let me hear what you got first. So, of course, I'm like, I got fire, you know what I mean? So I'm spitting bars, yeah. And he's straight faced, you know. And so he's like, you know, yeah, he's like, what's the hook? Right. So I show him the hooks. I give him 100 bars. He want to hear, what's the hook? Right. I give him the hook. He's ready. He's like, you know what? You got something. Yeah. So we recorded a bunch of tracks. Next thing I know, we have like 15 songs. Yeah. And he's like, pick the ones you want. Let's make a cover and let's move. Nice. So we got back with the team. We started buying all the promo, the T-shirts, the picket signs, yeah. The CDs. And next thing you know, we take off and we go to New Mexico. Okay. So when the album actually dropped, we were in New Mexico. We dropped the album over there. We did a huge show, came back. It took off. And when I say that album took off, we pressed 1,000 CDs. 3 months later, they were all gone. And we moved on to Speech Don't Fail Me, which was that follow-up album. You know what I mean? But straight fire. Memory one to me. Okay. So one day, me and my boy Ron, same person I met when I tell you about when I was with Guru, we're in Arizona Mills Mall. Okay. And we're at the food court, just kind of hanging out. And I see these two guys, they're kind of like, you know, chilling at the food court as well, but they dress a little different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely stood out. It was real hip hop. It was real underground, but like kind of dope, like, you know, the Pumas type of deal. And I'm like, oh, this is something, you know what I mean? Who is this? So I look real close and I'm like, I know exactly who that is. So we walk up and I'm like, you know, what's up? And he stands up and he's like, oh, what's up? Nice to meet you. It was Apple Diop and Taboo from Black Eyed Peas. And I'm like, you know, like me and my boy are amazed that nobody else is running over here type of deal. And they're just chilling, you know. So we talked about hip hop for like a good hour. And when it ended, they said, why don't you guys come with us in a limo and come to the show? And messed up thing was in my head, I was just thinking, cause I was probably 19, 20. In my head, I was thinking I'm gonna get in trouble from my mom if I leave my car here. So I told him, nah, we'll meet you over there. And we took the car. We took the car, you know what I mean? Nice, man.
That was old Black Eyed Peas.
Yes, yes, definitely original Black Eyed Peas. Yeah. I remember I asked him where Will.i.am was. I guess he had a friend who stayed out here. He was spending some time with them. But one of the conversations that we had during that hour was they were talking about that when they got back off tour, they were expecting to have a girl signed to the group. Okay. And that ended up being Fergie. There you go. You know what I mean? So that was pretty dope because we were like a girl to the group. Like, right. Is she gonna break dance like you guys? You know, like, does she rap good? And next thing you know, it's Fergie. But that's pretty dope. The next just memory I have more to me was a lesson learned. Okay. There's one thing I always say about me and the work that I put in out here in Arizona and music period. I always felt like I was that artist that was one listener away, One listener away. That's it. Everybody told me that all my life. When the right person hears you, the sky's the limit. So I was always searching for that person who's the light, who's the one. So we're working on an album. And I meet this guy named Mike. And he's like, hey, you know what? I manage artists. He was like more of like a street hustler kind of guy. I have known him, I seen him before in the streets. So I knew he had a reputation type of deal, but for hustling. So I had no problem with that. I kind of wanted that on my side anyway. So he says, I want to arrange a meeting with a guy named Swamp Dog, or a company named Swamp Dog, who was a marketing company who's had investments in people like Ice Cube. And I'm like, yeah, all right, that sounds good. You know, let me see. So we drive 6.5 hours to Woodland Hills. We meet Mike in California. So when we meet Mike, his mentality is a little bit more different. He's more aggressive, acting weird type of deal, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the deal. Yeah. So he takes us over there to the deal, and we go into this house, which is a guy named Jeremy. We go to his house, and he says, come in. He has plaques all on the walls as you're walking down the hallway. When you get to the end, there's a grand piano, you know, so we're like, wow, you know, I think this is it. So we go through the process. He's listening to the demo. He loves the demo. His wife is sitting in the room with us, and his business partner, and they're all nodding their heads. The wife is kind of dancing to the tracks. Yeah. And I'm like, I think this is going the right way. Yeah. So he says, all right, you know, let's talk business. You know, who's the spokesman? Where's your business card? You have a business card? I go to give him my business card. This dude Mike grabbed the business card out of my hand, scratches my number out and writes his number on and hands it back to the guy. Deal was done. He saw that and he said, before I could even mess with you, you need to get your business right. People like this will lead you nowhere when it comes to the big fish out here. So he was like, until you get done with that, I can't do nothing for you. He's like, but you got a future. So I remember walking out of the house, you know, your feelings are hurt. You're kind of upset. I'm mad at this direction and I'm disappointed in this direction. And his wife put her arm around me and she said, listen, things like this happen all the time. There's sharks everywhere. She's all, one day when you get loose and you get your mind right and everything gets right, come back and talk to us. And I always remember the drive home, you know what I mean? And, but it's a lesson learned, and it's one thing in music I will never forget, was that moment. One of the third moments that I have, I want to kind of mix this one because it was tough to find these two, but I got to tell you about this one. It's funny. Yeah. So I'm doing Lyricist Lounge, the show, and they have all these different people up, you know, and I'm probably like third or fourth. So we do the show. I could see somebody on the side, he's kind of looking, but I couldn't stare long enough because there was so much of a crowd going. So I'm trying to wrap in this right direction. But I could see him looking, and I'm glancing over, and I'm like, I wonder who is that? But I just kept going. So then my set ends, and I'm walking off. I get a tap on my shoulder, and I look over to see who it is, and it's Kass. And I mean, like, not, this is Kass at Rassassination, Kass. So it's at the peak. Oh, yeah. So when I see him, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, man, it's Kass. Like, I literally thought, okay, you know, I just met like one of the people I look up to as far as lyricists, like, you know, what else can go good? Right. Well, he said I was a dope MC. And I'm like, for real? And he's like, yes. He's like, in fact, take my phone number. And he wrote his number down and he handed it to me. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, my mind's blown. I'm telling my boys, you know what I mean? We're making calls, like it's happening, you know? And so we leave, go in the parking lot. And of course, like, you know, this is at the end. So everybody's already buzzing and some people are drunk. And Raz was drunk. You know what I mean? So Raz walks up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I seen you in there and you were dope. Here, take my number." And I'm like, "I already got it." And he was like, "Nah, take it." And I took it, right? And I get in the car and I look at it and Raz only put like 5 numbers on it. He put 5 numbers on the phone number, and on the other one he had the full number. So I mean, it was fire though. Me and him talked a few times, and we had many conversations on the phone talking about music and things like that. And he just, was a humble guy. Like this was a real dude. Like we talked about family. My daughter was just born. He was giving me like little tips and things on, how to maneuver in the industry, being a father. And like, it was a great friendship. I thought it was dope, you know what I mean? So shout out to you, Raz. Thank you for what you've done. I always felt the love because I always kept the right ones around me. Yeah. I mean, even when times when, some of the leaves fell off the tree, I still felt like we still were left with some of our special people to hold us down. And I mean, it humbles you going through some of the experiences that we go through living in, my parts of the city, some other people's parts of the city. It humbled me. So it feels great to have acknowledgement or love from the city. When I dropped the album, there were so many people who kind of like reached out to me like, "Oh, it's been a while," and things like that. But it's just awesome. I mean, it's a great feeling, and I appreciate you for the platform of being able to stand here and talk to some of the people and introduce myself to some of your people. You know what I mean? And I just thank you all. You know what I mean? I'm a true artist and true student of Arizona, of Maryvale, of Phoenix, of Surprise, of Glendale. I've lived in all those cities. I lived in all of them, you know what I mean? And when you listen to my music, that's what you hear coming out of it, is what's going on in them cities. So, I mean, I may feel special, but I feel like, I feel special because of what the streets and the city gave me and the love that they're pushing into me. And plus my family, I mean, of course, Scumworks, you know what's up. I definitely want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of people. Since we're talking about hip hop, I want to say first and foremost, shout out to my boy DJ Earth. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, Earth. I mean, brother, ain't nobody gonna ever forget you in my area. I want to shout out Tragic. I want to shout out Arlo. I want to shout out my boy Chino D. And I mean, Chino D is the reason I even got on the stage with aggressiveness. I got on stage a little kind of, like timid, like on these shows that Adi gave me. And then Chino D jumped on stage and he was like, "I'm ready to battle you," since, you know what I mean? He called me out. And I was like, boom, I responded. And he said, "Okay, I co-sign you." And we just took off, it just took off. So yeah, so definitely, what's up Chino D, what's up Atlas, you know what I'm saying, Richie Evans, you know what I mean, they're my people that I grew up with, that I have love for, you know what I mean. I want to say Elgato, you know what I mean, and HKS, thank you for all the support in the studio. And I got to thank my fam, you know what I mean, Scumworks, God's Crooks, you know what I mean, the people that put their boots to the ground for me. I definitely want to thank my fam, my home, you know what I mean, the people who live in my home, that I live under the roof with, that's my fam. I definitely, got love for you guys for always being there for me. And, you know what I mean, thanks again to, Miranda, you know what I mean, opening a whole nother door and window for your cat. It's been a minute since you've seen me, but I'm here.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my man Blury. I've known him for a real long time. He's definitely one of the greatest MCs out here, and it was a pleasure to have him on the show. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on the camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was another awesome show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And till next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.